Welcome back, Visibility Era family and community. We are back with another episode with today another freelance writer. We have Blair Sharp here today, and we're really loving having the other side of the equation, the amazing writers who help make our ideas and our stories and our businesses and our brands also get out there. So Blair is well known for her writing in various publications like Parents, The Bumped, Rescripted, Insider, She Knows, and we're really excited to talk to her today. Hey, Blair, welcome to the show.
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you on. We've really enjoyed some of these conversations with the writers and the producers who offer the other side of the equation compared to
Mhm.
what, Lydia and I do. So I'd love to just hear like how long have you been freelancing? How did you get into freelancing? Like give us the quick and dirty of your story.
Yeah, I've told this story several times, and each time I'm like, "Oh, I really need to shorten that up or like make it better and figure out the best way to put it to make sense." But it's kind of there's a lot of pieces to my story that make sense, and it isn't like the natural progression necessarily. I didn't go to school for writing, don't have any education in writing. Like I was really creative when I was younger, but in my 20s, I didn't do any creative work. I didn't do any writing. I'm 38 now. And I really didn't start writing again until like I was maybe like in my early 30s. And I started writing for a local publication. It was a parenting resource at the time. It was volunteer. It was just super, super random. Like I just thought, oh, that would be fun. And I started doing it. And then I realized, okay, I actually kind of like doing this. Like, what else is there? And so then I slowly started just kind of learning about things online, like this whole world of freelance writing that I had no idea about. I didn't know anything about like working online, like I've always worked in person. I still have a day job. I work 2 days a week at the Mayo Clinic here in Rochester, Minnesota. So slowly started just like pitching publications and learning, how to work with editors and how to work with maybe not as many experts or PR at the time, but because I was doing a lot of one-off publications, but or one-off like articles. And then I started a alcohol-free Instagram account in like 2020, the end of 2020, and that grew pretty quick. And so I started making connections through that with like mental health publications and accounts and websites, and started writing for all these other just random places, like whoever basically would let me write for them. And I could just get these bylines, online, which led me then to be able to make my own website, put all those in a portfolio and just start building, not even like no plans of actually doing it for work, just like kind of doing it for fun. And like I kind of just like slowly eased into it. And then in the fall of 2020, I was like, well, maybe I'll just like try to do this, like, and get paid regularly for it, And right away, I just DM'd a treatment center that I knew on Instagram from that, sober account, and I still write for them today. They're like my main client. So just said, hey, are you looking for writers? And they're like, yeah, actually, we could use one. So here I am, and then just kind of took off from there, and just still like kind of learning as I go, which has kind of been really easy, and I eased into it. So that was made it a lot easier too. It's a lot less pressure when I just, eased into it.
Yeah, and I have a question for you on I love how you shared like the pieces of, starting, dipping your toes in it, doing this, and it kind of found you almost.
Yeah.
What would you recommend for people that are looking to gain some bylines? We do have some clients that not only want to get featured, but they also want to write articles themselves, and they never,
Right.
yeah, we don't really know too much about that. We're more on like the getting the relationships with the media content.
Right.
Yeah, so I'd love to hear your perspective.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can always, just like pitch a publication. Like a lot of places have like how to pitch us. Like if you go to their website, just like think of any online publication, like even just like a big name, they have like how to pitch us and like what kind of things we're looking for. A lot of times you'll see editors post on, and it doesn't have to be writers. Like it can be people that are just looking to get like you said, like a byline to maybe get a backlink to the, that kind of thing. But if they have ideas of I mean, it'd be good to have an idea of like what you want to pitch and make sure it fits with the place that you're pitching or you're emailing to. And I'm all about like sending cold emails and just emailing and saying, hey, I have this idea. I know you have a blog or you accept these articles. Like, I'd love to just see if this fits with your website or whatever. I am on like all of the newsletters for freelance writers. Most of them, I try to like find which ones I really, really like. And, you know, some have the same on each like gig postings and pitch requests. So that might be another good place to look. Some of those newsletters, some of them are free. Some of them are, you know, cost like $30 a year or something like that. Pretty inexpensive. But if you just Google like freelance writer, you know, job newsletters, I could name a few, but I wouldn't want to like leave some out. So,
Okay.
um, all things freelance writing, and you guys know Jessica Walrack, her website has like this blog that's like 28 ways to find freelance writing work in 2024. So like I always send that to everyone that asks me, because all the newsletters that I'm on are like listed in there. And so you can just like get on there and just find places, because a lot of them are pitches. They're like, we're looking for pitches on health and wellness or whatever, you know. So yeah, if you're an expert too, like if somebody has like a degree in a certain thing and they can vouch for their experience, you know, then that is better too, I suppose. But
Yeah, that's so good. Between you and Jessica, I feel like
yeah.
we have all the influencer content we need. Well, I think we found you. I mean, I've heard your name before because, you know,
Yeah.
just being in the media, but Bridget was talking about how much she loved your LinkedIn content. And we
Oh,
were just
thanks.
like, yeah, yeah, we've been fans. So
Yeah, Jessica and I met like pretty early on when I started LinkedIn, and I started writing a little bit for her on LinkedIn as well for the All Things Freelance Writing page. But I also like am not above, I mean, now maybe I'm above, like if you're just starting out, like I'm totally down with like doing unpaid, like volunteer just to get a byline, like because people, if I send, you know, a link to an article that I wrote, like they don't know how big that place is. Like they don't know that it's just like some random like bakery, I don't know, or whatever it is, you know, like, so just all you really need is like your writing online or your work online so that you can send it. It kind of looks just professional when you just are, here's the link to my, you know, because that's how I started. I mean, I got my first big publication was Scary Mommy, and it was just like a personal essay sort of thing. And that was like huge for me. And I had only had these like random bylines on this local volunteer blog that I was writing, you know? So, yeah, it just takes like one or two of those to really insider's great. Insider is always looking for,
Mhm.
for, um, for
Like the
people to
personal
write.
essays?
Yeah, mostly they're like, we're looking for people, you know, that shop at Costco, or like we're looking for, yeah, and so some of those newsletters that I'm on will share those people, that the editors, what they want. So
yeah, I was just telling one of my clients about Business Insider,
yeah,
and also HuffPost. They have
yeah,
personal essays. I am such a sucker for those stories. Like it's funny.
yeah.
I'll be looking around for, you know, writers to pitch my clients, and then I'm sucked in and it's like, I, you know, I left my job and started a bubblegum company. Here's how I did
Yeah,
it, or like whatever. And it's like
right.
making 7 figures and you're like, bubblegum, what? I'm like, I'm in there. I'm reading the whole
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. Or even like if you want to like get going on Medium or something like that, like
Yeah.
I used to write a little bit more like alcohol-free stuff on Medium. I'm thinking about, you know, going back into maybe doing it, but I just have a hard time with my personal endeavors versus client work. It's hard to manage in my
Mhm.
brain and my energy. So
Mhm. I was curious about, like, how you chose what publications you wanted to write for. Like, I was checking out your portfolio, and it seems like a lot of these topics might be, like, near and dear to your heart, whether it's the
yeah.
alcohol-free work, the, like, health and wellness. So how did you choose, like, what direction you wanted to go in as a writer?
Yeah. So I really like doing things that I enjoy. Right? Like, shouldn't we all want to do that? I mean, obviously, like work is work and there's stuff about work that you don't like, right? But isn't it so much better when it's something that you either know a lot about or you're just really interested in? And I've always been in the mental health field. Like I work in psychology now. I've worked in with, you know, kids with developmental disabilities and adults with special needs. And so I've always like worked in mental health. And so like that was just like a no brainer for me to just like write about mental health. And With the alcohol-free stuff, I wrote a lot of personal essays that are out in the world or been featured places or been on, over 20 podcasts talking about my decision to quit drinking and like all this stuff. So that just made sense to write about mental health. And I think it's probably a good thing for me just because like we're just like continuing the conversation of mental health, right? It's not like mental health is going to go away or we're not going to like all of a sudden start not talking about mental health. If anything, we're just going to keep talking about it. So there's going to be more platforms for me to write about and more businesses for me to reach out to and things like that. And then the other side, I really like writing about parenting. I'm a mom. So like that just makes sense to me, I started like some of my first ones were about like being a mom and like I wrote for parents and things like that. And I just really like writing about things that I can like relate to because I feel like then I also am the reader, right? Or like my friends are moms, they are the reader. So like I know what they're wondering or what kind of things like would make sense in the way to say it and things like that. So I would like to branch out to some other like topic areas, but I'm kind of just like, I don't have experience in that. Like, how do I get experience in that? I'm kind of like a square one too, like, well, if I want to write about jobs, but like, I don't have any articles about jobs, like, like those kind of things. So it's always no matter how long you've done it. And again, I've only done it for a few years, but like people still are like, people who've done it for 10 years are like, oh, where do I start, with this, if I want to switch gears. But the nice thing is that you can switch gears if you want to, write about different things or try different kinds of writing and do social media stuff and website copy and all sorts of different things. So
I love that. And I feel like with the media too, like there's so number one, it's based on people. So like people are
right.
reading like right, which is amazing. And there's so many opportunities. Like the opportunities are endless. Sometimes I'll get
Mm-hmm.
discouraged, even as a publicist. And this is great for our clients to hear too. And we tell them like, no doesn't mean no. It just means no for right now.
Right.
Like right. Like when we're going through and we're pitching, like sometimes like I think a story angle is amazing, but it won't hit for
Yeah.
whatever reason. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm just gonna like workshop it a little bit because maybe the way I'm presenting it is like not well received, or maybe it's not being accepted right now. But I do love that you were talking about mental health. A lot of our clients are health practitioners, or they like to talk in that space of health and
Yeah.
wellness. And I feel like, obviously like the pandemic was awful, but kind of a blessing in disguise in a sense that it's no longer a taboo topic. Like we're
Right.
actually having these conversations. So I would love to just hear like, have you always talked about this, or was this something that felt kind of newer to you? Or was there anything like maybe in your life where you were like, you know what, I really want to focus on this conversation? Yeah. I know
Yeah.
you mentioned that it's like your background too.
I'm I'm pretty like blunt as just like normal. Like I'll just like say, which I now know is ADHD as of like a year ago, but like like it's a blessing and it's a curse.
Yeah.
I will just like say whatever. And so I have like no problem just talking about hard topics. And I think that also is like not every writer or someone like out in the public on social media whatever is comfortable talking about those like deep topics, but I know from experience myself and helping others with like Instagram, that just like sharing what I'm thinking or like my story or something can like completely change somebody's life, like complete, right? So like, for example, when I was on that alcohol-free Instagram, I would get people, of course, in my DMs who were like, I want to quit drinking. Like, I drank last night and I want it to like, I want to quit. Like, what do I do? Right. So that I have like, would kind of like coach them through it, just like here and there, send them resources, whatever. But like, there were several people where like, it was a year later and they were like, hey, like you were the first person that I reached out to. And now I haven't drank for a year and my life is completely changed. Right. So like that is just like mind blowing to me. Like the fact that like I could just change like one person's entire life has changed because I just told them like, hey, like I get it. Like, so same with just like reading a blog. Like the day that I decided to quit drinking, I had read a blog on Scary Mommy about a mom who decided to quit drinking. Right. So I it wasn't like anything big happened. It was just normal. I was just like, I'm kind of over it. Hangovers suck when you have an 18-month-old or however old your kids are. And I read a blog, somehow stumbled upon it, read the blog, reached out to the author of the blog, the writer of the blog, random Facebook message, reached out to her, and just same thing that I was doing then 2 years later, right? So it's like this full circle. That ended up being my topic on the Scary Mommy article that I wrote first, was like the Scary Mommy article, changed my life, basically, is what I wrote about. So it's like really like I have a lot of these full circle moments, and I totally believe in like the universe, like giving you like what you put out there. And some people say like, yeah, but some people just recognize those things more because they do happen to everyone. But I really believe that like whatever you're putting out there, you're getting back. So if I'm writing about mental health, if I'm sharing about that, working with other people who are very passionate about that, then like that, like only good things, right?
It's such
I
a
mean,
good
I'm not like toxic positivity, like only good vibes. Like I have very bad vibes sometimes too, but like, which is fine. It's normal, but like, like
We're
I try
vibes,
to be a
vibes.
little bit more resilient than not.
we're human. It's such a great
Yeah.
reminder though that when you just reach out to someone human to human, like beautiful things can happen. And that's what
Mhm.
we also remind our clients of. Like you sending a pitch, you just never know where it could go.
Right.
You actually focusing on building a human relationship with another person on the other end of the screen and remembering that that person is also human, like you reaching out to
Right.
that writer and saying thank you. They were probably so grateful that like
Right.
someone was listening and like wanted to reach out to them too.
Yeah. And it could be like they could reach out to them for one thing, or, you want to pitch somebody and they actually might have a different idea. Like there might be something else that like you guys can collaborate on or work together on. It's like, no, actually, but this is a really good fit for you. Or like, that's what just like those connections, regardless of, if it's an email or a DM or however you're pitching and stuff like that. I think they're just like super important. And like, what's the worst that could happen? They say no, or they just don't respond. Like, okay, on to the next one.
I also love that you mentioned you reaching out to that writer and just telling her, like, thank you, because we teach in Pitch Party too, like, if you can make a catered pitch, it doesn't have to be anything
Right.
crazy. It's just like a one-liner of, I saw this article and I thought that you would really appreciate this perspective or something like that to just show
Yeah.
that you read it. And when we're pitching from that perspective too, it's not like, throwing shit at a wall and hoping it sticks.
Yeah.
It's like you might send 3 pitches instead of like 100. So why not do it that way and take the
Right.
time to like read and learn? Yeah,
Yeah, I think that when I get a pitch from like PR or a person like who wants me to do something with their whatever,
Mhm.
um, if they say like I saw your article about X in the bump or whatever, like I'm like, oh, okay. That's a complete, like if you start with that, you've got me reading a little bit further, right? Like a lot of the things I get from PR people and um experts like don't really like I don't usually pitch ideas like so I just respond like I'll just say hey thanks but I don't pitch ideas, like I'm not in that, like I just get assigned things right now, which is kind of like fine. I mean I could pitch, but if I'm getting assigned, why not just keep doing that. But I do put ones that sort of make sense into like a folder, right? Like, and I keep it, and then maybe I will need that person, or maybe I will need a PR person for whatever. So then I have that. So you're more likely to get into that folder or whatever, or even get a reply if you start with, hey, I saw you write for the bump or whatever it is. It could be anything. It could just like the little thing. Hey, I'm in Minnesota too, blah, blah, blah. Like it's just like anything.
Yeah. I would love to ask you, speaking of experts and receiving pitches, we
Yeah.
were actually talking about this yesterday. We were talking about like quoted in these other companies and like what makes their experience as users or like what makes their platforms better. And we both were like, yeah, like the writers are the ones that are driving these platforms. Like they're if writers are coming in that write for big top tier publications, there's going to be more experts and more publicists coming in because
Mhm.
they want to also be featured there too. But
Right.
what we've heard on the other side, and Jessica even mentioned this to us, she was like, sometimes people try to pitch me with AI responses, and I can
Oh
tell, hey,
yeah.
because like everyone has the same response. Or
Right.
somebody will come in and pitch her and say like it will just like not align. It'll be like something about finance and then
Course.
pitch her somebody that works at like an aquarium. Like it just like
Right.
it's like total
Right.
right. So like what
Who's
would
doing that? Like, I don't know who thinks that that makes sense. Like, how does that make sense? Like, what a waste of your time,
it's such a waste of time. I think people see the
of
shoe.
their time. Like of the pitcher pitcher.
Yeah, it's a waste of
Pitching
literally
person.
right, everyone's time.
Yeah.
What kind of tips would you give to brands or publicists that would really help move the needle and actually, number one, create like a real authentic relationship,
Yeah.
also help them or their clients get featured, like approaching
Um,
you?
yeah, I would definitely make sure, like, just like make sure you read what the person's asking for. Like, if and I try to be like very minimal, like not putting a lot of it, like I don't put my questions that I'm going to ask you in the pitch or the pitch call out, the pitch request, because I don't want you to waste your time responding to all of that when I'm not even going to say yes to you, right? So like I will write like, this is a topic, whatever, and then I'll say like, we'll send questions via email after, someone has decided upon or whatever. I also usually ask, like I usually say diverse experts are preferred, or women prefer, like I just like I prefer to work, and amplify voices. So also like I don't remember I haven't done one in a while. I haven't needed an expert in a while, but I feel like the last time I did write something like, please do not, like you have to, like I'm trying to like be very specific, like do not, please make sure make sure you can do it by the deadline, right? Like I give, like, I need it by this date. Please do not respond unless you can give me quotes by this day. Like just like very like specific, because that's a whole nother thing. Like, right, once you secure somebody, then you have to like go back and forth and make sure you're getting things on time. So I guess just like make sure it makes sense, right? Like number one, make sure it makes sense, that what you're pitching for makes sense for the publication and the person. Because some people like really try to reach. They're like, well, I'm kind of a healthcare provider, like because I provide this health coaching, like, like it's just and I've noticed too, like sometimes I won't get as many responses, and then I like change a couple words in the topic line, the subject line, and then I like all of a sudden this happened in January when I did this once. Like I changed the subject line a little bit. So I think it really just depends on like what you're putting in there, and then just like make sure it's what, like I should make sure that it's what I want, right? And then like the person responding needs to make sure like that they are that person, not adjacent to it. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. Speaking
Yeah.
of deadlines, I would love to hear your perspective on this because I know it's very important to honor deadlines, like as a publicist, and I understand the back end,
Mhm.
but I have, heard of people asking to push deadlines or things like that. Can you tell us like what the back end looks like for you, especially as somebody who is assigned stories, and why deadlines are important, and maybe why you wouldn't be able to push them?
Yeah, so I purposely like will say a deadline that's like 2 weeks before my deadline, like, because I know that there's that time like let's say, okay, so a lot of time I work with like PR people of like doctors or mental health people, right? So everyone's busy. I know that. Like if I say yes to you on Thursday and I give you 5 questions, I need you to get your doctor, like, okay, then it's Friday and then there's the weekend and then maybe they have a full week. Like so there's all these days and I only work, write. I mean, I write whenever, but like mainly Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I don't have like a lot of time to give either. So that's why I do it in advance. So like, yeah, I would just be really mindful of the deadlines. And if you don't have it, like right now I'm waiting for quotes that I'm supposed to be turning in an article today, but I don't have the quotes yet. So luckily, I think just communication is key. Like the person I write for, I will send them an email today and say, like, I haven't got this, like, it's all done. The blog's done, the article's done. I just have to put in the quotes really. And then maybe change some things depending on what they say. But I think everybody's understanding of that. There's like 7 people working together on this one thing, right? So like we have to kind of make sure. It's hard to get everybody to align, but I will say when I do find PR people or experts that I really like had a really good experience with, quick turnaround on things, very communicative. Communicative? Is that a word? Sometimes I'm like, I don't do words right now. It's fine.
It's great. You're
Yeah.
doing great.
Like when I was at work, my day job this week, and I like couldn't think of words, and I was like, I don't do words on Mondays and Tuesdays, you guys. I don't. But I will keep that like PR person in a folder, right? Like my folders in my Gmail. Like I will keep them over here, like because I know that I like them or I like that expert and I know that they're gonna respond well. I also will use my friends. I have friends who are I have a few friends that are mental health therapists, right? Like licensed. So like I'll be like, hey, can you give me some quotes on this? Blah, 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 blah. And so like I've had a friend that I've got quotes from and been, had her words published in some of my articles, which is kind of cool. But I think even just thinking outside of the box for writers or people that are looking and people that are pitching too, you got to think outside the box, different ways to do it because you have to stand out, you know?
It's so true. I always just think it's so funny. Like the writers that we've had on the show, they're always like, we have this secret folder on Gmail that just
So
has
many folders.
all the folders.
Yeah.
I love it. I am curious if you, I know you mentioned that you're not taking a lot of like quotes and subject matter experts currently, but when you are you using sites like Haro? Are you using Featured? Are you using Quoted? Like, are you using that from the writer's perspective?
Yeah, I love quoted. Hands down, quoted. I love quoted. I just like it like looks nice too. It's like nice to look at. Like, I mean, I know that Haro is now, is it Contently that they are changing, right? The Haro, it just kind of like no shade, but like it just didn't like look, it wasn't user friendly. It didn't
I
look
agree.
nice. It didn't look like it was 2023, 24. You know what I mean? So like quoted looks so nice. It's very easy. Like I can put my stuff on there and like people can see it. And um I do have a few people like reps from Quoted who will email me every so often and just say, "Hey, are you looking for any experts?" Or like if I'm looking for something, I can email this person at Quoted and they'll put it up for me. I'll just say, "Here's what I need," and then they'll put it up for me. And I'm like, "Oh, this is like I feel super professional when I do that." Like, "Oh, I'm like an actual like writer. Like this is kind of fun." But
There,
otherwise, it's a pretty easy experience just to put, when you do those things, you're like, oh my gosh, I actually own a business. Like that's kind of like you
yeah,
forget.
I feel like it's so professional. It's funny. Bridget still uses Reddit, which cracks me up, but I feel like
I just
Reddit,
started
did
that.
you?
I don't understand it, but
I feel like Reddit is the only website that can look like the 90s and everyone's
yeah,
like cool with it.
people
They're
love
like,
it.
oh, people love it. Bridget
Like the
loves it.
fifth most trafficked website, and people are using it for
Like,
business.
why am I not on there more?
I'm
Like I
trying to
just,
hack the system. Like
yeah,
there's something to it, and people will do
right.
like posts where it's not selling something, but they'll be like, these are the 5 ways that I, grew my business. If it helps
Yeah,
you, cool.
right. Yeah, I need to like dig in a little bit more on there. Like I just got a like login like last week because I was like, oh, everyone's talking about Reddit. I need to go check it out. But
Yeah, gosh, that's so funny. But yeah, we've been talking a lot about like the differences between quoted, feature, Harrow, what the like kind of I guess like benefits to each one are. Like
yeah.
recently I've been looking at featured because I do have a client that's like very business centric and I'm noticing that they have like a lot of business conversations on there mixed in with
Mhm.
like blogs too, but I don't know if this is more like focused towards backlinking. Like what would you think? Have you
I
tried
don't even know what feature it is.
Oh, okay.
I've never heard of that actually. Okay, so there are 1,000 things that you can use for every task, right? Like there's 1,000 web hosting, and I'm just like super simple. Like quoted works for me. I will keep using quoted. Now I'm going to Google featured. Is that what you said it was called? Featured or is it feature?
Yeah, featured. And then I
Yeah, so I'm
recently
gonna look
heard
that
of,
up. But
yeah,
I like just like if I like just one thing, I just have to stay on it because too many things just it gets busy, too busy, and like I'm only on LinkedIn for work or writing, and whatever. Um, but I really like quoted. I like it. So like why, change or try anything else?
totally. I'm gonna switch gears because I've been
Mhm.
talking about this a lot this week. Um, and it's gonna be like a loaded question. So what is your take on AI and the impact on our industry? I've been talking about this a lot this week, and I'm just
Yeah,
like, well, because I just saw, I don't know if you heard about this. I need to like look at the platform, but it's called Press Hook. And it was talking about like AI driven, where it would like I guess pair the brand with the writer or something. I'm not really sure. I need to look into it.
interesting.
Yeah, but it's just interesting how AI is infiltrating or like,
Yeah.
I don't know, becoming a part of our industry. So just your perspective of what you're seeing would be great.
Yeah, it is a hot topic and everyone likes to talk about it and give their opinion. And I do use AI probably like every day, mainly just to like organize things like brainstorming or outlines, like game changer for outlines. Like I will put a lot of my well, the majority of the people that I write for just send me a topic and then I do the outline, right? And stuff. So like I will use ChatGPT and say, write an outline for a, 800 word blog for this website. It's just super basic. Like I don't have the paid version. Um, and I will say like write an outline and make it SEO and then it shoots it out. And then I might like go check some other, sites that have certain blogs that are similar and see what their headers are and things like that. Like, but that saves so much time because I'm a big overthinker. So like I will go back and forth on an outline if I, like I can't do that. So like the writing is where I really need to channel that energy. So it just makes my work a lot easier. I also have a newsletter that I write weekly for freelancers called Hey Freelancer. And like the other day, I was like, I need to like list out pain points for freelancers. So I just literally was like, list out all the pain points for freelancers. And then I have like a whole multiple page document now where I have like ideas for my newsletter. And then I'm like, hey, go deeper into number 2. And then it lists out a bunch more. And it's just like keeps going. It keeps going. And, but again, I'm very basic. I know a lot of people use them for like, they put really detailed like prompts in there to get certain things. Yeah, it's just really good for brainstorming. Like, even if you're like, oh, I really need to post it. Like sometimes I'll be like, I really need to post on LinkedIn today. Like, I just like can't think of anything. Write a post on LinkedIn about for LinkedIn about blah, blah, blah topic. Right. And then it writes it. And then I'm like, oh, that is good. And then I'll just like write my own thoughts from that. Maybe I'll use some of the bullet points. I'm pointing over here because I have a second screen. But like, that's where my chat GPT lives over there.
You're like,
And
they're
so,
Sharon.
but yeah, I need to name him. But like, yeah, just like brainstorming and like as a tool to enhance what we do, right? Because I still see like places are looking for writers, places are looking for actual humans to do the work. It's just like, how can we make the AI work for us to like make it better, make it easier for us to do our jobs, Like you guys could even be like, tell me places I could pitch this topic. Like what kind of businesses would want this kind of topic? Or, like, yeah, just like I don't know.
I love that. We've been really working on our YouTube and our own blog.
Yeah.
And I took some YouTube videos that we had already posted the other day and I was like, write an outline for a blog post and I just inserted the YouTube link. And I just
Yes.
like scanned all the material that I talked about in the video and that Lydia talked about in her videos. And I was like, this is amazing. And I feel the same as you. Like I love to use it as I need to respond to something. Like I need something to
Right.
work off of. And it just like opens up this world of, oh, okay, I wasn't thinking that, but now that I have that,
Yes.
like I can run with it. So yeah, I'm on board with what you're saying. I do agree, like with what Jessica was saying when we had her on. She was like, I don't like AI pitches though, because
No.
it's generic. Like it's
Right.
not, it doesn't work there necessarily. You might get ideas, but you need to change your pitch
Right.
based on
Yep.
you, your brand, your focus, all of that.
Right. And same with like social media, like posts and comments, like you can see when it's like, it's very clear. First of all, there's like lots of rocket emojis, but like, like, you can totally tell when it's like, when it's written by like a robot, like it's very clear. So I mean, that's fine. You get the thing done, but it doesn't turn out very well. And so like, was that a kind of a waste of your time? Maybe like, could you have like added a little bit more to it? Yeah. But definitely adding that personal touch. And a lot of like, the good news is that like, I write for mental health brands, right? So like a lot of the mental health, like they don't want AI's version of what's going on today, or like they want like, there needs to be some emotion into that work. So like they can't, the Mr. AI over here can't do that.
Yeah.
Mr. AI, we love you. We're going to use you as a starting point for
Yeah.
ideas, and that is it.
Right, exactly.
Oh gosh, this has been such a amazing and informative
Yeah.
conversation. We are such big fans. Can
Thank
you
you.
tell us like how we can connect with you, how our listeners can connect with you, and how they can connect with your newsletter. That's such a
Sure.
value.
Yeah. So, like I said, I just show up on LinkedIn, so you can just look my name up there, and then I post pretty regularly there. And then my website is just blairsharp.com. And I believe it's like blairsharp.com/newsletter, but there's a little on the top, it says newsletter, so you can click there. Also, there's a link to the newsletter in on my LinkedIn page too. So yeah.
Thank
Amazing.
you so much.
Yeah,
Gosh,
thanks
this
for
has been
having me.
so
This
good.
is great.
I'm like ready to just integrate some AI into my daily routines.
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing like how you use
Meal planning, workout routines, you could use it for everything. Mhm.
That's so true. We'll keep you updated.
Yeah.
Blair, thank you so much. And thank you to all of our listeners for listening to another episode of Visibility Era, the podcast.